Hello folks and welcome. This video is sponsored by the Brush Sauce Patreon. In May there's a lot of content dropping, and one that I'm most happy about is with Kelly Daly, an awesome character design workshop. It's going to go through all the fundamentals and of course have different templates and assignments that you guys can work on and follow along with her. It's absolutely fantastic. And of course, not to mention at the basic sign up, you get access to the private Discord, a very small niche community where we're really helping each other on a daily basis, keeping the motivation high and keeping the ideas rolling. Hey guys, we're back with another Brush Sauce Critique Center, and this is awesome because I got both the talented Adam and Jess with me today.
Yay.
There is 12 entries, so we usually kind of pick 10. We're just going to go through them all and say our kind of piece with them today, because there's just a lower amount of entries, which is fine by us. So yeah, I think the theme was, what was it, like Fantasy Wizards Lost Kingdom, something like that. I think it was like Wizards of the Lost Kingdom, if I had to rephrase. Okay, so I'm going to go through all of these, then we'll probably drop information on the next challenge kind of going forward. So here we go. This is the first one. Anyone want to start us off on this magnificent little entry?
Yeah. The first thing that comes to mind when I look at this is I really like the color and the atmosphere, but it's missing any like focal point or pop. Like the way that the composition and the lighting is set up, your eye kind of doesn't know where to go or what's important. But it does have a really nice sense of atmosphere and mood that I like.
Yeah, I really like the way that I love the fact that the point of interest, that castle thing that you've got, is under a huge shadow of some kind. I love things like that when big buildings are hidden in shadow. I always think that's very romantic. It's just hard to see. If it wasn't for the little peak sticking out, it'd be hard to see. So maybe putting a little bit of atmospheric fog or something just to give it a bit of separation could definitely help.
Right? There's two ways about it, because it's on a dark. This is dark on dark structurally.
Yeah.
So the option one, like you could do one of like 100 ways to add light, or whatever, like right hitting the castle.
Yeah.
So it pops. Or option two, I think, is kind of what you were saying, is you create more separation, right, overall between the primary piece, which is, I can't even find the edges on some of those, so I'd clarify the design, on some of that, either way, and then just separate that out, which let's do that with the gradient tool today, because why not? That's super fun. I'm gonna just do this, like, I almost even say have some light, some deep atmospheric or maybe thick atmospheric light kind of coming in, from like the top, like maybe something kind of like that, and then you can kind of wiggle it out and around. But see, like you gotta do light on dark, or start to add direct light, even in a sense kind of to that. And then see, I mean, yours is like a little more green, but you can fix that. You could fix that, right? Hue saturation. So like that, so you can make it like a little more kind of like yours. But see, like this is very noisy. Like back there, it's also getting way more attention. So I'd say maybe even tone that down a little bit. But you could also, right?
Because part of it has to do with the points of contrast. You put very little contrast on the building, which is kind of the focal point. But then you put more contrast in the water and those openings between the different root structures and things like that. Like the water is the brightest point in the image, but the water isn't that important.
It's true.
Yeah. When you zoom out, all you see is that point of contrast. Your eyes would go right to that pool. Although you could use that, because it's a strong light source, you could use that to give you a little bit of bounce light hitting the building from that water. Could be pretty. So it is an excuse to do that.
Yeah, you could.
That's really
cool. Aside from the value structure, the other thing that really throws me off about this piece is the figure shoved into the bottom left corner.
I was wondering who was going to address that first.
They're so awkwardly pushed to the very edge of the painting, and that they do have high contrast. Like that's the darkest point is the head of the figure, and then those tiny silhouettes closer to the water.
Oh, look at this! Okay.
Yes, it's like.
What is the story here? Is this a giant? And is this a little person, or?
I think one is supposed to be closer to the water, and one's supposed to be closer to us. But the discrepancy is so huge that it's not reading well.
We have a scaling issue. Yes, okay. Because the way I'm reading that is that person is actually close to the water, and then that made the castle look small to me. It looked like a miniature castle to me. Okay,
There's
so there's yeah. Okay, I see what's going on.
there's
That's
mischief
very
at play here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're not
that's
getting that sense of close and far. There's something off with the perspective there.
and
Hmm.
they're
Yeah, and it's
both
generally as a compositional thing, you don't want to put important like the castle is obviously the focal point, but the figures are the secondary focal point, and you don't want to put that towards the edge of the canvas. Especially the way those ones are literally sitting like they're standing on the bottom of the painting.
it's a big
So you need
no-no.
to set up your composition in such a way that they fit in the composition organically and don't feel like they're just barely shoved into the picture.
Yeah.
If this was for print, you'd lose even more of that character would just get cropped, right off. It just things on the edges never work in your favor. Let's leave it at that. But yeah, like you have all this space with nothing going on. Fill it. Fill it. I just want to fill it with love and care.
Yeah,
I'm
I
going to
think
interpret
I
that
think they
any
just
way I choose, Tyler.
Thank you, Adam.
My mind always goes to the gutter, so yeah.
I think they liked the way that the water turned out, and then they were scared to cover it up.
Yeah.
Would be guess, and then they left everything pushed to the edge to accommodate the water.
That can happen. I would say too. You can like because yellow is so close to green. You could get like they could play with like a little bit more. I'm just grabbing a brush, but like you could add some of these green colors as well, light hitting at least some of the surfaces, right, of some of these other, like sell some form in here and going up to here. It's too unresolved. This does, regardless of how we cut it, has a very unfinished aesthetic to it. And so we could start to, the closer it goes up into here, and then
I think especially on the side behind the castle, once you get to that side, it all just turns into mush, which the shapes could be pretty if they were actually refined a little more and given a few more points of interest and form. But right now they just look like, big muddy shapes.
It's a potato salad.
It's true.
Like, yeah, like, very specifically. You could have roots, not with this stupid brush that I have. Color, right? But, like, yeah, it needs more care. I'm only at 40% opacity. That's why I'm like, what the hell is going on? But, like, you can create so much. You have an opportunity. You have a space. The setup is all here, but, like, the pieces aren't all connecting probably the way you want.
Yeah.
Great
You'll
entry.
notice that the overlapping shapes were also helping to convey that sense of depth that the castle's far away.
Yeah.
So otherwise it just felt a bit flat. But the
Next.
mood, I think, really saved that piece because we
Yeah.
all reacted to the mood. It's beautiful.
Next up, Kaishi. There we go. My new loud keyboard. Guys, you hear it? I'm typing.
Mechanical.
Yeah. And that was the third one. I'm on the third one. They were too loud, and I had to keep finding ones that were like slightly. Thank God for Amazon returns,
Yeah.
but still a little clicky. I like it. It feels tight though. All right. Okay, so this person's stoned. That's not a good scenario to be in. Like you don't want to get stoned in a battle.
Is it the same person?
I think it's a friend.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, the
okay,
body
yeah, the
language.
hair is different.
This complete-
I think this girl's turning to stone too. If you look at her feet and stuff.
Oh shit! Look at that.
Oh, okay.
I
Just
got
found
it,
the
yeah.
secret recipe in the picture. Thank God you called that out. I probably would have looked at this for 10 minutes, not have noticed that.
Yeah, I just noticed it now, and yeah, we looked at these pieces last night too.
She knows it too. She's gonna get it. So I think while that's nice, I think the first thing I do, because you have such a nice moment here, I get distracted by all this stuff in the background. It's like, oh my God, there's other wizards, and there's smoke and lens flare types effects, which is all kind of nice, but it's like, let's really emphasize the importance here. I'd say go like this, because you can have a good degree, right, of the background stuff and still lose it.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Because the composition was really throwing me off. My eye was jumping everywhere.
Busy.
Yeah.
Right.
The other thing too is that flower, that beautiful flower that was sadly cropped. I would put that on the other side to kind of close off the
Right here.
right side of the image as well, because I'd want to salvage that flower. It's beautiful.
Repurpose
It's really
it.
nice if we're gonna
And that side is very empty.
Here, Adam.
Yeah.
We're gonna call it Adam's flower. Got a couple of them right
Happy
there.
face. Put a happy face on it. I want to know that it's a happy flower. A happy flower. Thank you. There you go.
You get well, if it's your flower. Oh,
Oh
let's
yeah.
do
it's
it
gonna
this
be all
way.
dark
No,
sauce.
you're gonna do it like this. You get like all the flower petals on the bottom. That's right. You clean on top like me, but now you're partying down below. So that's the Adam flower.
Thank you, brother.
That's how we roll now.
Yeah, here's the thing. The story, I love the fact that she's turning to stone. I think the overly posy knees is distracting from what's happening because she should be leaning her attention in towards that other girl who's turned to stone. And I would have that rock climb up a little bit higher because you have those rocks floating in front that hid the fact that she was turning to stone herself. Jessica was the one who actually spotted it. But she's so posy. It kind of takes it's not a sincere performance. It's a posy performance, and that always takes away
Posy.
from it. So remember that she's
Yeah.
remember that she's supposed to be reacting in a negative way to something bad that's happening to her. So the kawaii is gonna have to take a
Yeah,
break there.
because my feeble mind didn't pick that up. I would make that insanely more obvious, right? Like
Yeah.
block out
Yeah.
up to the shins, like full on rock boots. And then like you could I could have a lean over like a little further and stuff, and maybe just like complicate the knees maybe a little less, like you said.
Yeah.
And I would actually get rid of the stone, like on the hat and the hair and the chest. Like,
Oh
it's
yeah,
not,
that is distracting.
it looks like she's dirty as opposed to turning to stone. I think doing more of what Tyler's doing and having it look like it's growing up the leg is going to sell it a lot more than just having spots all over her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The more you kind of deconstruct it, the more you realize there's a few things off. The other thing is that her staff, the way she's holding the staff behind her back, that doesn't look possible. It's two-dimensional staff on a three-dimensional. She's supposed to be sitting down on the stairs, I think.
Even the way her hand is like flat on the stair, but
Yeah.
then there's a staff underneath it.
Yeah, it feels a bit cut and
I
pasted.
almost would just take the staff out.
I would, and if you put it anywhere, it could be like laying on the back somewhere. Just
Yeah, or have it sitting on her lap instead of behind her. Put it in front of her. That way, at least it looks like it's sitting on her lap in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what else too? When you're telling a story, remember to look at the story. So what the artist is trying to do is say she's noticing the other girl who's turning to stone, and she's turning to stone herself. But by the time she's turning to stone, you can feel that. You would react to it. So you want to direct your audience's attention to what's happening to her by looking down. And if you wanted to convey the fact that it was the same thing that happened to the other girl, you could have her perhaps touching the other girl's shoulder or something like that to show that, to kind of make that mental connection between the other girl and what's happening to her.
yeah.
But otherwise,
Lean
she's
over
looking
with like
the wrong
a
direction.
little bit of a reach out, like you said. Can't connect
Yeah.
the arm at that distance, but yeah, I think that would connect the two so much more impactfully.
And then have her look down at her own legs.
Yeah, the other thing I wonder is like they kind of sitting there really casually, and this monstrosity of a thing is kind of happening, which I think is also maybe part of a larger problem. Like, is there a way you can use the rest of the picture to tell that story? Like, why?
Yeah, I was actually thinking it might look cool, like if there was like a bubbling potion in the middle between them, like maybe they were doing something and it went wrong, because it doesn't look like they're in the middle of a battle. Everything looks calm, so it looks like an accident, maybe. So maybe give us some more props for that. Maybe there's like a little bubbling bottle of something between them that is turning them to stone. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ideas all happening at the same time, and the pieces of the puzzle didn't connect.
And another thing that's throwing me off about this piece is the lack of visual flow. So there's a lot of things around them and behind them, but there's nothing really guiding my eye through the piece. Like none of the like little focal points in the background help move my eye where it's supposed to move throughout the piece. None of the big architectural shapes in the background or even like the plants and stuff in front of them move my eye towards the characters. So you want to think about how you design the shapes of the buildings and the clouds around them and even the figures so that it creates leading lines that guide the eye through the piece to where it's supposed to go. One of the best ways I heard it explained is to think of the focal point as the heart of the painting and all of the leading lines as veins. that bring your attention, bring the life back to the heart of the piece. So think of it as like designing these shapes that are veins throughout the painting that guide you back to the heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say anything now. What more is there to say? Wow, that I'm sure you gave the artists and the viewers something to really think about there.
Yeah, no, that's really cool.
Well done.
I'm
Yeah.
going to steal that, by the way, Jessica. I like that analogy. I'm going to
I,
pretend that I
I,
made that.
I'm pretty sure that originated from Chris Oatley. I think that's a Chris
Oh,
Oatley.
that wouldn't surprise. That sounds like something he'd say. Yeah.
I do like that the background is minimal, but it should be more intentful.
Yeah. Graphically, I think that objectively the image itself is visually pretty. I think it was just a visual storytelling and flow issue. But visually, as far as just how you executed the render, I think it looks very pretty.
Raha, here we go.
Oh. All right.
Saturation. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. This is a saturated.
The colors are
beast.
everywhere.
See, even if you desaturate, and then values
And the values,
become a
it
big
feels
problem.
so checkerboardish. There's like so much light, dark, and you want to think about grouping your values so that anywhere that you have like a darker area, your highlights in the darker areas should still be, the highlights should be darker than the dark shapes in the light areas. So all of the dark areas should remain at lower values than the higher areas. Yeah, like grouping it the way that Tyler is.
Yep.
And so in the highlight areas, what he's doing is all of the darker shapes are still becoming lighter than they are in the shadows.
Yeah, there's got to be that major point of like separation, and it's the shadows, it's the highlight, it's structurally needs to kind of get a lot simpler, a lot simpler.
You're trying to create bigger shapes with the lights and darks.
So then you could subtly get behind there, and like not go to this extreme, but you need to see this separation on some kind of level. All right, let's. So like I don't know, and I don't think there's necessarily a quick fix for that, right, folks? Like
No.
I mean, it's like part of this that I don't think helps. Like just again, you probably just need to bring a lot of that. Yeah, see, like even this for the highlight probably should look a bit more. If light's hitting some of these surfaces, probably be a little more like that, not blasted out at full strength, and then use the shapes of light over here. Like, see, there's no cast shadows. Like, see, like these are very loud, right? Very poppy pieces. Like, not adding anything to the piece. So blend them in, right, so that it mixes. And use neutrals. Like, using a lot of neutral colors. Like, that red's very deep, but also kind of competes a lot of the warms back here.
Another thing too is that red glow, because it's so even, like just this like very mid-tone local color, it doesn't look like something that would glow. There's no like point of light that's expanding from it, or like at the center of it. It's just all like an even flat color.
Here's the other thing, that red is an eye grab. The red and the green are the two wizards, essentially. And you have a wizard that's hidden in the shadows. The only thing that lets us know that he's there is that he's sticking his staff up. So that makes us go, oh, there's a guy hiding in the shadows there, which might be part of the story. But one of the issues that we do as artists sometimes, we tend to be a little bit too literal sometimes with our descriptions, and we don't look at things objectively and say, does this actually read well? So what I would actually do is, if you have a strong red, I would have that staff in the other hand highlighting the guy who's in the corner, right? So that red's actually serving to draw our attention to the hidden character in the piece and create a little bit of contrast there. Because otherwise it's just pulling us to some uneventful side of the image, and it's highlighting our leg, right?
This also kind of doesn't know what it wants to be in terms of visually. Like, there's an uneven amount of visible line in it. There's, shading and form. And then there's also, like, groups of mass shapes, line, shape, and mass. But it's, not one of those is kind of taking the lead in terms of visually, like, aesthetically, purely aesthetically, what it wants to do and how to say it. So you end up seeing something like this, which is like it lacks a coherency, in that it's just trying to do too much, and it doesn't do a single one thing exceptionally well.
Yeah, I would say that the lines are not helping. this piece. I think at some point it looks more unfinished,
Yeah.
like you didn't finish painting out the lines. Um, if you want to use the lines in a painting, then you have to develop kind of a voice with those lines. The lines have to have a style or an aesthetic quality to them that adds to the painting,
Yeah.
as opposed to these look more of like just guidelines.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
this thing is
That's
huge.
a gnarly leg.
Ah, nice.
Shit, it got real in there
He's
quick.
still got a nice strong expression though, so it didn't piss him off too much. What Jessica said is really important too. I remember that line is an art form, and I come from the animation field, right? Art is a line form. If it's not an art form, then it's a guide. And if you're using it as a line as a guide, then the end result, your goal is to delete or hide the line layer, and the image should read on its own. Think of it that way. But if you're going, like Jessica said, if you're going to include line, study different line styles and get into that and make it a part of your art.
I would simplify this, and like maybe the next few images you do. This is a lot of responsibility doing an image this complex with like this kind of style lighting and all the background stuff. Like maybe just make the next one just about 2 characters and try to nail a piece with 1 to 2 characters in a much simpler background, much simpler lighting scenario. That way you're going to have far fewer pieces to juggle, and you're it's going to take far less time, and you'll know much earlier if it's going to work or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Start simple, keep simple as long as you can go. All right, Max Vandercut. What a cool name. I got gypped with Tyler. I want Vandercat. I want to be a Vandercat. This is cool. I like that.
Yeah.
This is a very fun image. Like I could see this, being on like a poster or something like that.
I feel like this also in some ways kind of does what we were just talking about. Like the use of lines in here is much more intentional. The way that they're colored, the way that they're scratchy, there is a style to the way the lines are utilized in the image that's more effective than if they were just guides for where the edges of things should be. I really like that creature up at the top. That's cool looking.
I do too.
Yeah.
I like a lot of things about this.
One of the offending things here is I agree with everything that Jessica and Tyler said. I would say though, apart from the main character, who's got that volumetric lighting on the front of his body, if you look around the image, there's a little bit too much of a dependency on this very bright, thin, sketched-in rim light all over the place. Mm-hmm. And rim light is an accent to things. It shouldn't be the definitive form, because if we zoom out, you're going to notice that a lot of these forms that you've rim lighted, like that object in the foreground, are just going to read as lines. Mm-hmm. We see zero. So there's definitely a value issue. And what we had done with what Tyler had done with earlier pieces of adding atmospheric fog, like with the woman who's leaping on the far left, on the top left, have something behind her that separates her from the background. Because that rim light her glowing hand is the only thing that's really popping out to me. And that form, the entire form is lost in shadow. It's definitely
I was going to say on a very similar note to that, like my favorite part is kind of all the lighting effects, but my least favorite part is also because of how they're handled, those lighting effects.
Yep.
Like especially with like the light hitting the surfaces here on like the rocks and stuff, it's not kind of taking, like I think Adam just said, right, to the form of it, which makes it feel very, very flat.
And I think another thing that this painting suffers from, again, is that kind of like checkerboard composition. Your eye is jumping everywhere. And it is a very complex scene. There's a lot going on. But when you have a scene with this many characters, this complex, you have to find ways to simplify and group. And you've kind of done the opposite. You've kind of added a lot of extra contrast to every edge of all of the different pieces. And so your eye just keeps jumping from thing to thing to thing. And you kind of have to choose which one is the most important. Like, where does the eye need to rest? And then the other pieces are things that you kind of wander around the painting and see, and then come back to the focal point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, I like how you did that. That's cool.
Yeah, that helps.
I'm trying to just soften like a little bit, back there with that lighting. And again, it's gotta be to do that effectively. You do gotta handle that a little way more delicately than I just bluntly did it, because I did like the highlights back there. But yeah, I need that sense of lighting, for sure, And
I would actually even just take out that guy that's between the two red hands. I would just take him out because he is
I didn't even
really
notice.
distracting from the composition, and I
Yeah.
don't think he's adding to the composition in any
yeah, we're
way.
going with that. Listen
So
to
then
me.
you get more of a visual flow of
Yeah.
those characters coming towards the hand and that one in the back. It creates almost like this arch, this C shape.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yep, trim the fat.
Feels a little bit more. You're working more with the rule of threes there. One, two, three. Yeah.
Because yeah, then you can get like the
And then
underlighting, right? The blue underlighting, right on a lot of these forms too, from over here.
I love it
and
when you do that. You always
it
act nice. Yeah.
And
it feels now like your eye has a path to follow, like it knows where it's supposed to go through the painting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of making that almost a Fibonacci spiral from the hand, from the red hand through the character's glowing hand to the girl's leg through her arm into the beast. So it's creating a nice spiral
what?
through the piece.
I must say,
Yeah,
what a
just
bunch
take
of
that guy.
challenging
It was a
images.
good call.
A bunch of challenging
Yeah.
images everyone's tackled this month. Like just really like multi-figure, multi-light source. Like oh my gosh,
Ambitious.
and
Everyone was
yeah,
ambitious this month.
ambitious. See, like, yeah, you get some, like, additional... When in doubt, just add more smoke and atmosphere, more special effects, like you're on the set of a movie. Oh, it's a pain in the ass to add a special effects. You just add a smoke machine, simplify things out. You know, get the leg shapes to pop. Get those eyes, on that beast, which I'm vastly... I don't know if it's you or me, because I know I've been tweaking with it, but, let's upsell something, I guess, red, right? Let's go red. Like, really get those eyes looking great. Yeah, like I think you said, like the highlights it needs to kind of naturally wrap. You did a little better on that hand, wrap around that form. But see, like this whole area, for me, the most problem things are like this,
Yeah.
like
And then that
this,
rock. Yeah.
major eyesores right now. And this is just a crowded. Let's just say it's a crowded mess. Like just simplify it for now, and then maybe you could sort it out. Otherwise, very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a very cool image. A lot of cool design went into that.
This one, Scarlet's a regular. And how you doing, Scarlet? A very different take on the theme. I can respect
Yeah.
that. It
More
does.
whimsical.
Yeah, it does seem intentful and it's creative. The lighting feels off, but like too dark.
Yeah, the shadows where the girls are standing seem, for a bright sunny beach day, they seem very dark.
Mm-hmm. Now, okay, if the main focal point is the girl casting the water spell, flip the canvas horizontal. You want to put the primary focus on the left, because that's how we're normally going to read it. There you go.
That is better,
Yeah.
Adam.
The other thing I would do here is that the towel that's sitting on the ground, it's kind of the same issue we had with that first image where it's kind of hugging the bottom. Move it a little bit more and it'll fill in a little bit more of that space on that negative space on that sand.
Yeah, over there. Get
There you
that
go.
wet sand.
That's nice.
Yep. Yeah, you just need it. It's really stiff with the color. I'm gonna go with that for now. I'd punch a lot of that up. Get that blue, like the translucency of it, like reflecting into the shadow, over here. Like it's a very complex lighting effect, and it needs to be handled very delicately. Like, see, like this is good. That's like hitting it. Get more of that bounce light, kind of bouncing
Yeah,
up
bring
from
it
the
to the bottom
sand.
out
Like
there.
not maybe as far as I have it, but I mean, if this is here, if this is existing, maybe since the character is also on the bottom, you could move her in or add more of the castle
Yeah,
because like right now.
I was actually thinking that because the composition feels so tight and cropped, I almost wonder if this might be a little better if you just pull back just a little bit, give us a little more room on the bottom and the side, because it feels so like
Yep.
cropped right up to her feet, cropping that towel off. Yeah, like I think just a little bit of breathing room there could even help. Mhm.
Yeah, most of the time we crop in. This one you got too tight with it. Yeah, give it a little breathing room.
Yeah, like the spell, even on the top, because the spell is creating a bit of a tension with the top of the image.
Yeah.
Yeah, just give it a bit of breathing room.
Just in every direction. Just go with it. And then that way you can get this thing out kind of like over here. Get the bright.
Yeah.
And see, like the lighting on the skin tones. I'm not even gonna touch those, but they're not working yet. It's kind of similarly like what I did here really quickly. I mean, maybe you gotta feel like the light is hitting these forms, hitting.
And
Yeah.
you got to think like in this situation, the sun is like up above, so it's kind of flooding the whole scene with light. You're not going to get these huge areas of darkness. There's nothing in the scene that's big enough that's going to drown out this like omnipresent light of this big blue sky. Even where the shadows are underneath the creature or the girl, they're going to be faint. They're not going to be, huge areas of the composition.
Mm-hmm. It's nice.
Yeah, like you're gonna get like not on overlay. Don't do that on overlay like I was. But the warmth of that sand, from here, that's really gonna make. It's gonna have like an orange looking leg, but that's how you'd handle that situation. But yeah, otherwise, I actually really like the idea, and I think this is really fun and creative. It needs a good amount of tweaking, but I think the idea itself is worth salvaging for sure.
Yeah, it's fun. A lot of fun.
All right. Oh, switching tomes. We got tones here. We got
Very-
Diablo.
Look at this
We're
thing.
having
Oh
a
my
bit of a
goodness.
saturation issue here again.
I was
Nice.
telling Jess last night when we were drinking, because we drink and we were just checking some of these out ahead of time. I like this part so much.
It's all about the
Look
I
at
would
that.
like make a picture just with this person blasting the heck out of something. Look at that power right there. That is a picture. I like that a lot. Okay. That had nothing to do with anything, but
And this
I
is
appreciate
sequential
it.
art. You get this painting, and then you get the laser staff guy is the next painting.
There's a lot going on in this image. You have to keep looking at it, and things like I just realized there was a kind of a war going on in the back, like a bridge with soldiers clashing in the background.
there's a
too.
lot to take in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that's thrown me off is kind of the proportions of the hands and feet of the guy that's flying backwards. His hands and feet look almost like rubbery and way too large for his
Yeah.
figure.
Yeah, that leg. He's got a strong leg.
Or like even the one that's sticking up, like it looks like it's bending in weird ways. Like there's a really nice gesture to it, but it almost seems a little too exaggerated compared to how everything else in the scene seems rendered more realistically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think
And I think we could really benefit from some, even if there are so many details in the background, but we could, like in the classic Magic the Gathering style, if you study, just look up some Magic the Gathering art, you're going to notice there's always a very strong pop between the foreground character and the backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
So you get that nice pop of atmospheric fog will definitely bring it into the realm of traditional fantasy.
and if it's neutral, because this is an intense
yeah.
painting, and it's got a lot like intensity with the color, and that color is red, so maybe using like yellow to neutral greens, like just get some grays in there to offset and bring it to into a sense of harmony.
Even with that level of warm tones in there, by graying things out, it'll actually probably read as a bit of a complementary color too. So you could just cool it out with grays.
Yeah, like I'm gonna see like this darker neutral, and I wouldn't do it as flat like that. I'd probably add in, just a hint of purple too, but like that's a whole other thing. And then you could tweak, lighten would kind of start to help that. But I mean, these are very Band-Aid level fixes. Like there's like much more proper ways if you have a lot more time, you'd want to approach that. Where is it? Now I will do light in, and then I'll just do it like this, the kind of shameful sort of way. Fix that, and then I would want to stretch. I'd want to stretch a lot of this out and over, and then build that up. Just like we started to neutralize that. We took some of the intensity out, which I do feel is helping. But yeah, it's a challenging thing because you have so much. I'd soften that shape up there, right? Because that's very, very.
Another
intense.
thing I'm feeling is a little bit of wanting something at the far end of the canvas to stop the eye, because you have so much momentum going towards the edge of the canvas there. You have the figure moving dramatically that way. You have the guy flying that way. You have the laser scepter shooting that way. Everything is pushing the eye off the canvas in that direction. And I feel like it's a little bit like you just kind of like run off the page, and there's nothing really to stop the eye or bring you back into the image.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I'm just tweaking this.
I'm wondering about even if you reposition the guy who's flying a little bit, because I'm getting a little bit of disconnect between the hand that's out isn't actually pointed directly at that guy, and then the head is looking ahead, like it's not even looking at the guy that's flying. So there's a little bit of like where he's looking, where the hand's pointing, and where the guy is flying are a little disconnected. So maybe try to either turn the head or the hand a little bit so they actually connect, or to move the guy so that it's in a position. If you moved him down and closer to the edge a little bit, at least then maybe the eye contact would be there. Like it would look like he was looking at the guy that he was throwing.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a cool and demanding piece.
Yeah.
I'm still working on separating out some of these bigger pieces, you know, just like even taking like this and start, you know, adding, then add essentially like another piece to that puzzle, right, where you have like the bridge. So bring that in, and then, oh gosh, then select all the little dudes up there, which I'm not gonna really do, but we'll pretend. See, we'll grab all these little guys, right? You got their spears, and then also do that same thing, right, where you bring it down a little bit further, see, like that, and now you can start fix like the lighting like on the character, because I know I was just kind of covering that up, get that atmosphere rolling. So yeah, it's simplify essentially a bunch of that. This is cool.
Yeah.
See, do it subtly, many layers. Yeah, I'd offset some of that, yeah, and move those things. But this is cool. This is really cool. I like this a lot.
Very solid piece.
Little monochromatic, but it can be adjusted with some glazing. All right, where are we at? That advice.
El Dragon.
Woo!
Nice.
Demon Souls.
Yeah, I love the design for that dragon. Oof, I'm liking that a lot. The kind of coral bone thing, that's really dope. I love that.
Yeah, really cool.
I like this.
Again, another character kind of crushed in the corner. Oh,
Yep.
we're there. Flipping it's good too, because then we notice the wizard first. Kind of the main.
That's a
color.
simple fix.
Yeah. But we need to move that. I think we need to move that wizard in a little bit, or add a bit of negative space under.
Yeah, you know, I would stick this person like right, like I'd even make it a little smaller, like a little more, and oh goodness. Okay, I'm again
Yeah, because you're trying to sell
Yeah.
the scale of that
I
dragon.
would do that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, your I don't know if you know, Tyler, but your move tool V is set to auto select, and it'll always auto select layers when you click on them. It drives me nuts. So you can uncheck that if you.
Thank God, I've been dealing with this for like 2 weeks now since I switched to the PC, and I'm like, where's it freaking doing that? And I like wrestling it like every day. Like,
Yeah. Press V. Just press V for Victor, and then up on the top left you'll see auto select. Uncheck it.
oh,
Oop.
look at
Yeah,
that.
now you're-
Pro trip.
And if you want to select, just hold down Alt and click on a layer while you're in the move tool, and it'll automatically select what's on that layer.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't know
I'll bill you on PayPal.
All right. Pay for your services and then some.
There you go. I'm really loving the texture design and
Yeah.
the rendering. It's
that. Yeah.
Oof, that's really
What-
lovely.
One thing that's throwing me off a little bit, like there is a lot of attention to like all the cool textures and surfaces, is everything kind of stays gray.
Yep.
Like there's no areas that have like a good sense of contrast. Like if you look at like inside the dragon's mouth, I guess the eye of the dragon has a better sense of that contrast and depth, but like the mouth looks flat because like there's no sense of that dark receding shadow inside
Yeah.
the mouth. And I'm noticing that kind of throughout the whole dragon body, you kind of get this mid-tone and then these white highlights. And I think you could do more with the shadows and the contrast to make it feel a little more rich and voluminous.
Yeah.
That should knock a little further back, like you
A
said.
nice approach, actually, to exactly what Jessica's saying is there's the really good illustration of Deathwing, if you ever get a chance to check it out, where he's kind of standing in a pose somewhat similar to that, and he's standing in some kind of a village, so his butt is far away, and the artist used a nice kind of atmospheric depth just to make the butt look like it's way off in the distance, making that head pop forward and look huge. You can do something you can do here too, because it's a huge dragon, so you can play with that. Also, too, I'm imagining the rider of that dragon there's a bit of a disconnect there, isn't it? Because it's like
Mhm.
this black suit. I would want to maybe add some ambient occlusion or something, some shadow that ties and connects that black suited rider to the dragon.
Yeah, because
Right.
right now it looks like he's just kind of like just stamped on top.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a yeah, this is trick. Like, yeah, I think there's too much information
Oh, there you
almost.
go.
Like in the
Yeah.
shadows down here. Like I'd lose a lot of that. And
And even some of that dark you brought into the sky and the ground, that corner of ground, those little bits of dark that are just a little more saturated are adding a lot more richness to the painting.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the background's not working yet. Like this is a very noisy texture, and it's not there. You know, it's not helping this piece yet. The castle's almost it's too like there's a chalky sort of aesthetic to this that still needs to get resolved. Like even for like a white light, you know, on a light dragon, like that's a very delicate thing to handle,
Hmm.
and it's gonna take some
You know what you could do?
tweak.
Because the way that texture is painted is really lovely. Albeit it is distracting, but it's still lovely. I was thinking for that kind of top-down lighting, you could have a bit of an atmospheric god ray thing that's coming straight down over the dragon, and the dragon's head, it casts kind of these long shadows with the wings and stuff like that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think
Yeah,
so.
You could have kind of
yeah, I
this
know what.
light
Yeah,
shining down over the dragon, and then use the head, cut that light off where the head is kind of pulling out of the light, creating these beams of shadow.
yeah. I don't know how to.
If that
I don't
makes
know.
sense.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I don't know if there is a
because that could
quick
also mitigate a
way
bit of
to.
those background
Yeah, I don't know if
details,
there's a
too.
super quick way to paint that. I know exactly what you're saying, and
You
that.
know what I do? I usually just take a big airbrush and I just go diagonally right across, and then I'll use an eraser and I'll erase from the head down to create these streaks of shadow.
Okay, okay. So
Right? Just go
let's
paint right over it. Yeah, give it a shot.
maybe we should up that, right? Let's yeah,
Yeah, there you go. Something
yeah,
like that.
right.
There you go. Like that.
Whoa.
And then wherever the
Let's add
the wings
let's
are,
add a little
you
bit
use
of
your eraser
texture
tool
and
and just
particle
erase out.
into
So it
those.
shows that the head and the wings are blocking the light, so to speak. So it's creating these streaks of shadow under the wings and head.
Yep, erase on the bottom, and then yeah, you're like saying like get in around like the wings, right? And then you'd want to erase kind of like from the bottom.
Erase it all the way to the ground. Imagine like it's a beam of light that's been cut off. So like unselect. Yeah, there you go. There.
It's something kind of like that, yeah. And then
Yeah.
same with. Okay, yeah. Let's start there, and then like, oh, I do this like a little bit of a harder brush. It's something kind of like that. Again, that's
It
the
kinda
quick
helps.
fix, but it does add. What a tricky little image.
I
Yeah.
think one other point that I noticed about this piece is the acting of the two figures is very weak. They're both in this like very generic holding a staff, arm up pose, and so
Thou
they
shall
kind of
not
feel
pass.
yeah, they feel very stick figure-ish because the poses are so generic, and they're both making the same pose as well. So
Yeah.
I would look at like different pictures and try and get ideas of like dynamic gestures and stuff for the wizards that are not necessarily like just the staff and hand up pose.
Yeah. What helps with that to give those arm poses a little bit more strength is to use strong vertical and strong right angles. Because when the hands are kind of making a bit of a diagonal, which makes it look like she's going a little bit more like shh, 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 calm down, because it's a bit more of a gentle hand. But if you have a strong, like when Gandalf does "Thou shalt not pass," he stabs it down very vertically to create this kind of wall to stop the beast, right? So it's that vertical line that creates a sense of strength, and that'll help to show that the dragon's trying to charge, and she's blocking it with her staff, so
And
to speak.
like even like what if she was holding the staff with both of her hands, like holding the staff up like
Yeah.
this, and then you get that strong vertical,
Yeah.
and then she's not just holding her hand up like she's waving. But do more interesting things with the gesture for sure.
Yeah.
And make that sound effect from the original Star Wars. You know, like I can't do the sound effect, but that's what I can't stop thinking that ever since like we started looking at the poses. Once again, I have a comment that adds nothing to the piece. I suck today.
Oh, this nice.
You're doing the heavy lifting. You're doing all the
No,
selecting.
no. That's a lot of selecting.
Look at that nice, strong, straight,
Oh, this is
straight arm.
underwater.
Really reads nicely.
Look at that.
Is that underwater? Yeah, it's lovely.
This
Is it some of these darker
volumetric
parts
lighting.
at the
This is
bottom?
what we were just doing. These
Yeah.
two people need
Yeah,
to talk
there you go.
and like trade effects. Look at that.
Mm.
Yeah, this is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Everything happened
it's
with
really
top.
cool. I think one of the things that's throwing me off at first is how flat that main big statue is. Everything in the scene and the space feels so rendered and so like it feels like you're in water. You feel like there's water between you and the diver. But then when you get to her, she just feels very like flat.
It's
and
unrendered.
broad. Yeah, so like give that some three-dimensional form. Give it some cool highlights and shadows. Like really bring it to life, and I think it's going to do a lot for the piece.
We're on the same page. That's exactly what I was
Yeah.
reaching for with the blues there.
Yeah, there you go.
It's-
Yeah, no, because there's beautiful light coming from the top. It allows you to backlight something, and backlighting is an excellent quick hack for creating drama, and that really works nicely. Yeah, beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Like it needs that on like every surface face.
Yeah, over the whole
Like, and
piece.
a-
I
and
think
in an
she just
uneven
needs
way.
to paint.
So it looks like it's hitting that material. So even like right, let's say right in there, like that little guy. Yeah, it's maybe even for underwater. I think you could still kind of squeeze some more coloring, like more greens and maybe a little more purples too. In places. Where are we at?
Did we see like that red light under the kind of gnomish type statues? I wonder if there's a way to bring some of that red light into her somewhere so it feels a little more connected.
That's true. So, yeah, I get like the top of. I try to find that color, for like the top of that form.
Unless those are supposed to be divers, because I see the diver has
These
that
are
pink light.
yeah, these are divers.
They are, I think, because they have little bubbles.
Yeah, because where it's underneath the gnomes, it almost looks like the gnomes are coming to life or like doing some magic something.
Yeah,
but maybe that's meant to just be like from one of the divers.
Yeah, I'm really thrown off by the foreground, in general with that stuff.
Yeah, a lot of those foreground gnomes need some separation and because a lot of that, this diver at the bottom, at the very bottom right, I didn't even notice them at first. So definitely some separation down there for sure, just to make those forms read a bit better. So she's pissed off at the gnomes. I'm wondering what they did.
What a story!
Yeah, because she's gonna open up some whoop bass on these little boys. She's not happy.
Yeah, what a
I love the story to this. Like as Tyler is fiddling with this, I'm looking at the story. Kind of has a bit of a Tomb Raider-ish kind of discovery feel to it.
Yeah.
I really like what you've got going on here. This is really pretty.
And I think compositionally as well, it is really strong. Like the way that you framed everything, the way that the diver fits into this bigger scene of the statues. I think that was really well executed as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Underwater scenes aren't the easiest, but yeah, I think that overall very well done.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe they are easy because you can kind of just cover everything up with like thick atmosphere color. See, kind of like I'm doing here, like you can just bring in. And it's because it's underwater. You don't have to even work hard to sell it. It's just, just to help kind of pop. It's any kind of shape you want, you can like just do it. You don't even need a license for it. Like in a scene like this. I see. Like this is like too light over there. Like with the way that I'd also add. I'd continue to add whatever that light shape is. See, like right here, I'd bring that over. Like get a little bit of an edge. Like kind of go in there. I think that'll help. Then get the form. But yeah, this is cool. I'm cool with this. This is getting a lot more detail in there.
That really works. Yeah.
What the hell are we next? Oh, socket.
Another strong one here. Look at that.
Whoa, this got some power to it.
Yeah. Huh.
It's very contrasty.
Yeah.
There's like a lack of atmosphere to this.
Yeah, a very strong read that. Yeah, we've got a big bold red statement in the foreground and a blue background, and there's no There's no
Nothing.
there's no transition. It's just like it looks again. It gives it a bit of a cut and paste character,
Mhm.
cut and paste on top of the background type of thing. And the castle is very obscured in the dark, so a lot of those details are hard to spot.
Yeah, this is
A very
complex.
ambitious drawing, though. Like, look at the design on that character. Holy
Yeah, I
smokes!
know. But
Yeah, I think they put a lot of work into like the costuming and stuff, which I think
Yeah.
really shows.
but at the same time, you should probably, in an illustration like this, be really concerned about how the whole picture is working. Because again,
Hmm.
you could detail and texture this character for another 10 hours, but it's not going to matter because the rest of the picture isn't working yet. Not at all. Like, figure out the big pieces first before even fiddling with those small pieces whatsoever. Look at yeah, this I gotta like if yeah, like you said, it's the character is it's weird because it's like painted without the context of the environment, like a very
Hmm.
separate thing, and it should be together, right?
Yeah.
And there's I don't have a quick oh yeah, since I didn't make a separate layer, whoops. But like I messed it up because I started painting atmosphere, but yeah, I guess I'll just erase just like where that is. But
Yeah.
but you could bring that light, and have it
Yeah,
exist with the character.
when designing the painting, you want to think about like the air that the whole painting exists in is the same air. It's the same color. It's the same light. So everything should have a similar quality to it. And you should think about the way that the light is reflecting on the surfaces around the figure and then apply that to the figure as well. Because what Tyler's saying is that it feels like it's kind of like stamped in front of a background as opposed to feeling like it's part of the background.
Yeah, it's
And
tricky thing.
when you think about the color of the atmosphere, like the air between you and whatever's in the image has a temperature, has color to it, and it will affect all of the things in the scene. And so that will give it more of a cohesive feeling when there's the same color choices or the same sense of air between you and the objects throughout the scene.
Yeah, I like your way of wording things. Works for me.
Sometimes it works.
If we were going to get merch, it would be say what she said.
Yeah.
That yeah, we got to make some merch.
See, yeah, I mean, I lost the top of like the head here, but I mean, you can get these things back, right? Like, I'm just starting with the immediate kind of piece
So
here.
one of the things, like thinking about the color of the atmosphere, if I look at the background and all of the elements you have around the figure, it looks like there's almost this purplish color to everything. There's like this purplish light. And then when you get to the figure, you get these really strong oranges and yellows. But what happens is if the color of the atmosphere is purplish, it's those oranges and yellows will be muted. They'll be desaturated somewhat by the color of the atmosphere between you and the figure. And so part of the thing that's throwing this off and making it feel like she's not in the same space as everything around her is the fact that she looks like she has like an orangish yellowish colored air between her
Mm-hmm.
and us, and the environment looks like it's purple.
Mm.
Because when you think about what color the air, the atmosphere is, that's going to be the color that has the most vibrancy in the picture. And it's going to desaturate things that are on the opposite end of the color wheel.
Okay. Ooh, I like what you're doing with the light there. That's nice. Huh, that works.
Still, yeah, there's you put some time into this, and I think you should finish it for sure. But I mean, there's a lot of lighting things to address. Not to really sugarcoat it, right? It's the key light, that you have here, the main light source also in the background. How these materials right interact with each other, which you guys were largely covering. It's just it's going to take a little time and maybe some further referencing. If you're not sure how these pieces should flow or move together, like so you get like a little bit of that light actually cast shadowing out. Like yeah, you could lighten that up, kind of in here. Like I'm all about that, but yeah, it has to.
And then also, like, even if the light source on her face is from her hand, that like glowing yellow color, then the light on her face should be that glowing yellow color rather than instead it looks like chalky and white.
So getting that, and then get that blue light kind of coming Oh, shit. Right? Because then you get the secondary light source too, and then there's the light from the hand. So like every time you add a light source and an effect to a piece like this, the challenge and the difficulty is going to go up a bit, and it's going to take that much more planning and reference to kind of execute, and just things to account for overall too. But yeah, I think this is cool as hell. I think I've been harsh on it, but I do think this is rad. And it's just gonna take some tweaking, Trying to get that light kind of coming from up there, and then there's that whole hand situation. Let's just address that, right? Which, oh my goodness, no, it's yellow, right? Undo, right? You get that, and because then that's gonna start to affect, right, everything else. Just like you guys said, like gonna bring it in, and then you might even see like that other that other light effect again. Yeah. Like she's gonna have like 4 light sources on her, so get it. Try to photograph or get the reference on that the best you can. It's like core shadow, main light, and then rim light, and then an ambient light with this warm light. Yeah, a lot going on with that, but yeah, and then the background.
I really think like paying attention to the color temperatures will help this piece a lot. Like where it's warm and cool will make a big difference.
Because right, there's like a lot of details back there. Adam, anything you want to add before we go on?
No, I'm just enjoying seeing what you guys are doing. No,
that's good. We all get to do backseat ride once in a while. I like that. I see, like I'd silhouette that structure, and then I'd light it up, like put the lights on it and things like that. But because you don't have to be complex with it, but it should feel complete.
You know what Tyler's doing is actually bringing out what's so successful about this piece, and just with a few little tweaks like that. Look at how strong that piece is now. You can see all the nice work he put into it.
It's getting there.
Wow, what a difference! Yeah.
All right. Chopstick Honey.
Very interesting.
Bee.
Very different.
Oh my God, what a cool name. Oh my goodness.
Huh. Very, very designerly. It makes me think of a Breath of the Wild intro screen.
Yeah, this feels like it's like a tapestry mural or something kind of like that. I don't know if it would work in any other context, with that said, because it's very specific.
Yeah, I think the thing that it reminds me of is like a side-scroller type game. The way that everything feels like it's on this plane that's like laid out to be moving left and right. But that also, part of that is because it has a very flattened feeling. I don't know if that's intentional or if it's meant to feel three-dimensional.
It's really hard.
Because if it's meant to feel three-dimensional, I think adding some perspective to the scene, because right now you've got just like straight horizontal lines and straight vertical lines, which does a lot to just flatten it.
Yeah, this is...
Here's the thing too. A little suggestion. I'm looking at the story. It's kind of like the wizard and the monk who's countering. It's kind of like the old against the new type of story, right? So you have the kind of like the modern soldiers casting a spell against this wise elder, and he's calmly countering it, which I think is great. I love the idea behind. I like the kind of I even like the two-dimensionality of it. It's got a very designly feel, albeit there is an overuse of soft brush strokes. And in some cases it creates a nice texture, but in other cases when the whole piece is like that, when you look at it up close, you go, oh gosh, everything is just texture, it might be a little bit too heavy.
This texture, it's just it's consuming.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Swallowing it.
Yeah, everything has a textured edge to it, right? I'm also thinking like the way that they're kind of there's a weight discrepancy there, because there's a lot of weight with those 4 characters dominating him, but the wise guy, I would actually elevate him, maybe put him on an elevation, not have him on the ground, because it looks like they're picking on a homeless guy type of feeling to it, right? Where by putting him on a pedestal, it puts him more in a state of superiority and balances it. If you think, for instance, in The Incredibles, the scene where they get into an argument. Bob comes home, and Elastigirl, Helen is Bob gets upset, and he yells at her. To counter that, she stretches her neck and makes herself higher because he's bigger. So her height helps to counter it and balances the playing field. So I always think of it in that kind of sense where you want a counterbalance of strength and height. Look at that.
And then like
It also helps
Versus-
compositionally because if you raise him up like this, he's not pushed down into the corner, which is a problem we keep seeing in a lot of these compositions, is that you don't want focal points. And he is the focal point of the painting. You don't want him down in the corner.
nobody puts the monk in the corner.
Yeah, that puts them eye to eye with them now a little bit more. What would happen if you flip it? How would the story read if you flip it the other way?
That's a fantastic question.
They're going towards him, so we see them first, and then we see him blocking it. There you go.
Yeah, push that.
And that almost feels like an end boss, like whenever you're playing Contra or something like that, and you got the boss at the end of the path type of thing.
I'm just doodling. This, I think, where this goes from here is entirely your intent. If it's like a quicker, rougher sketch, yeah, sure, it could work. But if you want something finished, then think of this as the sketch for that. Go in and actually get references for all the figures, adjust the proportions, study these materials, get the lighting on all these things right. The materials, like is this wooden floor? Is this kind of marble? Is it or is it galvanized in some kind of way? Is this wood? Because you're gonna have to calculate the light. So is this lighting outside, right? Is this key light kind of coming in and affecting anything internally in here, or is this lit by its own kind of like light sources and things of that nature? There's so many questions coming up with this, and it's going to depend on your intent.
I do feel like getting a light source in there behind him might be really cool, like getting some like lanterns hanging over his head or something. Some sort of interest to that side of the painting.
Oh, this is Alexa.
This is a very, very Discworld vibe to it.
Yeah, this is
Really
the spirit right here. Oh my goodness,
Nice.
look at this guy. He's a badass.
I love this whimsical stuff. I guess wow, look at that.
Yeah, there's a lot of whimsical stuff this time.
You could do worse, huh?
Yeah.
Look at the beautiful design. Nice, clean, readable shapes. The backdrop of the building against him helps to frame him nicely. The foreground goblins read really well.
I really love the like dramatic cloudy sky against and like the serious wizard against the like kind of playful quality to the colors.
I was gonna tone back
Look at this.
this guy for now.
That had a very consistent design style. Look at the line quality in the shape language is very consistent throughout the entire piece.
Yeah, you can see this person's really confident with their style or their voice.
Yeah. I love
Yeah,
the
I like this.
cross. I like the cross guard on V's sword too. That's really nice little detail. And his looks like a pendant or a key kind of flying off his shirt. All of those little design things really read well. Here's another thing too, just as kind of something to focus on for anybody looking at this or anybody wanting to learn from this. Let your eyes travel through the entire piece from corner to corner, and you're going to notice that nothing was taken for granted. The artist put care into every detail and didn't just kind of go, meh.
Really
because
well rendered.
That meh moment can kind of pull away from all the other beautiful work that was done.
Yeah,
Right.
even the architecture in the background, there is a simplicity to it, but the simplicity is very like there's very clear choices of like here's the shadow shapes
Yep.
that are volumetric with the window lights coming through them and the gold domes. Like even though it's simple, it's very intentional.
Yeah,
I'm trying to
it's a finished thought, right? Yeah.
I'm trying to balance things like a little bit in terms of like the value contrast. Just like my biggest thing, because it's like it goes a little all over the place, in that regard.
That was one of the things that did throw me off about it is there's a sense of noisiness to it. It doesn't quite, I mean, all the details are beautiful, but it doesn't quite balance them all completely.
It's a lot of pieces to juggle.
Here's something that could add a lot of depth to this piece too, and it's a very simple but it's a single pass where you'd go over all these different materials, the fabric, the silk straps, the satin trimmings to things, the metal, the golden keys, all of these different materials, and you add a different quality of reflectivity and specularity to it. Like that beautiful, I love that dangling yellow glass vial he's got hanging off his waist. Put a nice glass sheen to that. Or the key around his neck, put a nice golden reflection in there. All these little bits of renderings can really add a lot of depth to this piece.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I'd silhouette some of that stuff too.
Yeah.
Like where
Make
where it
a
gets
bolder statement.
yeah, where it gets noisy, just simplify with, atmosphere, fog shapes. See, like kind of like you did over there. Just bring that, into shadow around the core, especially around the core silhouette, right, of your figure. Like that's good. Do more of it. So like this shape here. Oh my goodness, get that there. Yeah, this is rad though. This is
This is cool.
yeah, you could pull out the speculars on the right, like on the helmet, let's say like something like that. I'm just gonna get like a color.
Yeah, it helps us to notice them a little bit better too.
This is like the Band-Aid fix. You can even poke the color, hitting some of those in a less metallic way than I'm doing it, but that could help them.
Classical, old school RPG, like
Yes.
RPG vibe to it. Yeah, I really dig it. I really
I would
dig
even
it.
take like the bottom, for the most part of the wizard. See, like that whole section, and then group that just a little bit tighter together, with the lighting and the values on it.
Yeah.
Because that'll help. See, it helps the top. It bolsters the top with strength, and readability. And then you can just get your highlight back, and then a little bit of light, but a little bit of
I
simplicity.
think another thing I really like about this piece is it's something that we've seen a million times before, a wizard, kind of D&D fantasy setting, fighting some goblins, but it's done with such a unique voice that it reads as something completely new and
It's
fresh that
fun.
you haven't seen before.
Yeah, yeah. Notice we're not reacting negatively to the cliche aspect of it, right?
No, it's like it takes the cliche and elevates it.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah. So you don't be afraid to rip off great ideas and just do it in your own unique way. That's very common. And it's
Good stuff. All right.
look at this, the
Pal.
total change in.
Pal, you trolling with this? I don't know how serious of an entry, because I seen your stuff. You do some polished stuff. This looks like something you just tossed into the batch here.
I think this is really cute.
Oh, it's cute, but I don't know how serious, because even for Powell, like I see what he does. This is
Oh yeah, do you have any? I would love to see other examples of what he does.
it's
just so we can
similar,
compare
but
to
feels a lot more finished.
Okay, the lighting is.
Yeah, like the ships and stuff that are unfinished.
I would really, one of the things, so just with this particular style and this approach to light and color, I would really recommend checking out Sam Nielsen's stuff. He's got a very similar type of cartoony, beautifully lit type of energy in his pieces, but it can give you some ideas for renderings and lighting and stuff like that. So definitely something to check out.
Yeah.
I feel like if this piece had been finished though, it's so funny, it's so unexpected. I feel like this is something that there are people out there that would just love how cute and unexpected this is. I love the little the army of
Duck.
wizards down on the coast with the tiny ducky, and then the clouds are shaped like duckies. You really went all in on the concept.
Yeah.
You're like,
It's cool.
This is a
I like
piece
this
about
idea
duckies.
as a picture. I would.
Yeah,
The purple stands out too much.
The boats look like the boats are very loose. They need to be rendered. The crash of the water, because you want that. Here's the thing too, the ducky who's coming through the clouds, that he's got a bit of a cloud blocking him in front, and that's creating a bit of a tension with the waves. And the real kind of, I think what would get a good laugh out of people looking at this piece is the huge crashing wave that the duck is. It's like the power, the wrath of the gods type of thing, right? Just to see the power of that, get rid of that cloud that's covering in front of the duck.
The one I'm just drawing the
emphasize
cast
way-
shadow from.
So he's crashing and have some boats toppling over and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And also that shape of the wave, in the way that you get such strong, round shapes with the duck, and you're starting to get that with the clouds, though they still feel a little muddy. I would look at the shape of the wave that is crashing into them and bringing that same kind of sense of strong geometric shapes into the design of it, and design it to be a very interesting shape, crashing into the duck.
Yeah, it'll get there. But the purple stands out too much too. I try to harmonize it a bit with the rest of it. even for like storm clouds or magic clouds. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool. All right.
It's a fun piece.
It is fun. Yeah, so these are our three, and we were all 100% agreeing with each other for once, which is fantastic about all three. Our favorite and our two runner-ups. So congratulations, guys.
Such cool pieces.
Beautiful work. Very inspiring.
Yeah, I hope to continue to see you guys submit like this. This is, up in the quality. You guys setting the bar really high,
Yeah.
so that's awesome. And yeah, keep it. These will make great portfolio pieces for all of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nicely well done. All right, guys, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate the backup.
Yeah, thank you. It's fun.
Yeah, my pleasure.
You guys are terrific. Hey guys, sorry, my video didn't record for the previous section, obviously. But yeah, here I am, and I want to represent the next challenge. So we're going to take inspiration from the old, I think it's the 1920s or 1930s movie Metropolis. The remake of that movie Metropolis from an anime form in the 90s, and some of the art that inspired both of those from Hugh Ferris. And just kind of create a singular picture that represents the themes from those films. So just look them up on, like Wikipedia or something. Let's see what they're about. Maybe watch some clips. And yeah, just kind of create a picture inspired from that work. All right, it'll be due May 30th. And of course, guys, thank you for entering and viewing.